how challenging is this budget making exercise given the overall macroeconomic backdrop, both within India and globally?
I would say that the biggest challenge is managing perceptions. Because I think the government has been very, very prudent when it draws up budgets. But the important part is what is it, how is it that we interpret it? So everybody likes to say that will populism come in? But what exactly do we mean by populism? Is PLI populism? Is old pension scheme populism? Is more food subsidy populism? But I mean, that can be debated. But the important thing is that what we have seen from the government is they're committed towards moving towards that fiscal path of fiscal deficit of 4.5%. So I'm quite sure when you're talking of 6.5%, they will talk of something like, say, 5.5% for the next year, depending upon what the revised fiscal deficit number looks like for 22-23. And within that, they will do the best about what can be done in terms of managing the expenses. And we know very well that if the economy is going to slow down, the kind of buoyancy which we saw in tax revenue will not be repeated this year. So I think the GST collections have been too good to be true for last year, aided by inflation. So we're saying inflation coming down, real GDP growth slowing down. By tax collections, growth will also not be that buoyant, probably maybe a single-digit rate. So I think the government will manage there. But I think the more important challenge for them is how to manage perceptions, because they have to give a feeling that they're being prudent, they're being populist, both at the same time, which is going to be difficult.
Okay, one would say that when it comes to managing perception, the Modi government and Modinomics has done a fairly decent job of that in the past years. We'll see what happens. Mr. Joshi, on that same question to you.
Well, I think you asked about how challenging it is. It is, I mean, every budget is a balancing act. I'm yet to see a budget which is not a balancing act. But this one, I think, will test the dexterity of the policymaker because, one, you are entering into a slower growth phase. Last year, we got 15.4% nominal growth. This year, for 23-24, the expectation is that it's not going to be higher than 11%. So your tax revenues will be constrained next year. So now the issue is you have been pushing capex for the last 2 years very clearly from the budgetary expenditure. How will you maintain that? The only way to maintain that is to restructure the spending part. I think that's where the challenge will come. So cut down on the unnecessary spends or trim the subsidy bill. In some cases, you can be lucky. If global fertilizer prices come down, your fertilizer subsidy bill will reduce. But my sense is that overall subsidy bill is going to be much lower than what it was last year.